Ragin Cajuns softball headed back to Baton Rouge. Ragin Cajuns baseball sweeps the Bobcats. It's a Ragin Cajuns episode on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz back with another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Quite the weekend for the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. They are Sunbelt champions again in softball, and they legitimately are a Sunbelt softball dynasty. Take that for what it is. They don't win and haven't won national championships. They've been to Omaha a few times, but there's been 23 Sunbelt Conference tournaments. They've been in 19, they've won 18 of them. And the one they lost in the championship. So they've just won their 18th conference tournament, and they won their 19th regular season championship as well. The Ragin Cajuns beat Marshall in quite the matchup, and they won that tournament differently than they have in the past. We'll get to that here in a second. Also, the baseball team sweeping Texas State. Really didn't think that was going to happen. I was hoping for 2 out of 3. I'm not even sure I thought that was going to happen. But all of a sudden, they've won 6 in a row. 2 weeks ago, they were tied for 6, may not even make the conference tournament. Now they are in 3rd place, and they probably only need to win once in Hattiesburg against Southern Miss to solidify a top 6 seed. That's really what they're looking for. I guess there's a way, if they sweep Southern Miss and there's a 3-way tie up top, yada, yada, yada. I'm not buying that. All right. Win a ball game against Southern Miss and take your top 6 seed and see where you go from there. All right. See where you go from there. I'm not quite sure I'm buying the whole back in the at-large berth scenario. Really, as a group of 5 team, and I know that the Sun Belt is a very good conference. People have it, the 5th best conference in America. I still think they would need a top 40. I prefer top 35 ranking as an at-large. And I think right now, even with the sweep, they're like 64th. Well, you know what? We'll check that when we do the segment for baseball. But let's first do softball. They come away with a 1-0 win over Marshall. Quite the pitching duel between Sam Landry of the Ragin Cajuns and Sydney Nestor of Marshall. The difference in the game was Lauren Allred's home run, only run of the ball game, and it's very different team for this Ragin Cajun softball. They usually, at least when I was back here in 14 and, for the years after that, they are going to outslug you. They are not going to bunt. They're not going to move runners over. They will pitch good enough, but they're going to run rule you and clobber you and, shell shock you if that be the case. Not anymore. This team's very different. They can do that. But they just won a conference tournament where they scored 9 runs in the entire tournament. First game was 4-1. Second game was 4-1. Last game was 1-0. Sometimes back in the day, they'd scored 9-10 runs in a game. But this was all the pitching. We mentioned this in the previous episodes. It was a really close tournament. There were no blowouts. There was no run rules. All the games were won late. The home run from Allred, I believe, was in the 4th. And so, the Cajuns had to work around some issues in the 6th and the 7th. Autumn Owen came up to the plate and was basically intentionally walked. They tried to get ahead of her, fell behind 2-0 and walked her and got out of the inning. And later on in the inning, same inning in the 6th, Carly Heath for the Cajuns, they put her on with the bases loaded. And although, again, not necessarily intentionally, but sort of one of those intentional walks, fell behind, and then we'll just put her on. And Sydney Nestor was able, I think it's Alexis Langoliers was up next and get out of the inning. And Landry was just, phenomenal, right? This is a girl who did not pitch, or at least did not start in the senior weekend, right? The other ones did. Megan Shorman pitched. Kendra Lamb pitched. I guess Carly Heath pitched. And Megan Shorman pitched like 2 2/3 innings this weekend. didn't pitch at all. Kendra Lamb and Sam Landry were the pitching heroes for the Ragin Cajuns. Carly Heath didn't pitch either. And so Megan Shorman's rested. Carly Heath's going to be rested. I'll be the first to tell you, and we'll do some more research on this as the week goes on. But back in the day, LSU always had more pitching than the Cajuns. The Cajuns may have had the better ace, but LSU always had the better pitching. I think the Cajuns may have the better pitching and certainly have more of it. This was not your typical LSU team. Their RPI is high because they're in the SEC, so they're always playing someone with a good RPI. And it should be a whale of a matchup. These two teams played home and home this year, and the Cajuns won at LSU, the Tigers' first loss, and then the Tigers came back the next day and beat the Cajuns in Lamson Park. Should say that they are headed back to the Baton Rouge Regional. They were not particularly pleased with that. It is a interesting scenario. On the radio, on my show on 103.3 The GOAT here in Lafayette, coming into the week, last week, Jerry Glasgow was really non-committal on what he wanted to do. It was kind of like, if we hosted, great, but if not, we may get a better path to a super regional. Well, I'm of the belief I want the Cajuns to play at home, and so I'll worry about the super regional later on. However, they're playing the Tigers. They're very accustomed to playing LSU, so going over to Tiger Park is not going to be an issue whatsoever. They're very used to doing that. And they are matched up with Washington in that regional. So LSU is the 10th regional, is the 10th seeded team. Washington is the 7th. I got to believe, and for all the Cajuns fans that are complaining about not hosting, you avoided Oklahoma and you're avoiding UCLA, and for that fact of the matter, avoiding Florida State if you were 14, 15, or 16. So, this seems like a much easier path. I'm not sure it is an easy path, but it's certainly easier than the other way around. And so I'm going to be, in fact, like Jerry Glasgow, hashtag always a bright side. All right. You didn't host, but you have a shot. You have a legit shot of going to Oklahoma City to play in the College World Series. All right. This is for sure. You have a legit shot. All right. May not do it, but it's not because you're a huge underdog going in. All right. And that's a little bit different when it comes to Cajuns sports. Baseball under Robe was usually a favorite. They're playing well now. We'll get back to that here in a second. But, softball, they are the dynasty. They are favored to win. That's a big deal. That is usually not the case. Ragin Cajuns fans, Ragin Cajuns for the fact of the matter, always play the underdog. Some of it is woe is us. But other is, they're fighters, water hose guys instead of out of the water bottle or the bottled water, whatever the case may be. But they're usually the underdogs. When it comes to softball, they're not. They're not. We just said that. They're a softball dynasty. And they got as good a shot as anyone to get through that LSU regional. They got as good a shot if they should play Washington to go up to Seattle and take on the Huskies. They have a shot to go to Oklahoma City. And they are not happy that they're not hosting. But I think once, and Glasgow said this, once they settle down and realize, all right, we got a shot. And that's usually not the case with the Cajuns. Usually they have to overcome something or surprise somebody. I agree with Glasgow. I think LSU should be more upset than the Cajuns. LSU, I got this. Hold on, right here. Softball rankings. LSU is 7. They're taking on the Cajuns at 11. So LSU's RPI is 7. They're taking on the 11th RPI team. I mean, I know the Cajuns and some Cajun fans aren't happy, but if I was LSU, I'd be pissed. We're seeded 10th and we're playing the 11th team, right? Cajuns get screwed a little bit, not a little bit, a lot. They had the 11th RPI, and by my math, they were the 22nd seeded team, if you will. That seems a little bit off. How are you the 11th RPI? What math are we doing to that? And then we're putting them 22nd. Something's not right. Your math is off with the RPI. I will say for their strength of schedule, I know they, the top 25, they were 2-10. That's a problem. It's great that you have a tough schedule, but you got to win. You got to win some of those games. I don't think anyone expects you to go 10-2, but 4-8 would have been better. 5 and 7 would have been better, something along those lines. You can't just schedule them. You got to win some of those games. And some of the games at the end weren't the most difficult, right? You had A&M and Baylor. That's not UCLA and Michigan. So they had a shot on the road. And I thought if they won those games, they may have been a national seed. But as it turns out, they weren't even close to actually hosting. Not even close to hosting. When you are the 22nd seeded team, although people tell me it's more regional once you get past the top 16, I don't think that they were close to hosting, as the case may be. And yet, I still think they got a good shot at going to Oklahoma City. So, congratulations to the Cajuns, another Sun Belt championship. They're headed to Baton Rouge, and we will talk about that series throughout the week. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. Ragin' Cajuns baseball all of a sudden hot. They have won 6 straight conference ball games. They now find themselves in 3rd place. Let me tell you a little bit about Built Bar. And my problem is I did not get the Built Bars. I ran out of Built Bars, or my Built Bars melted. I left them in my bag in my car. It's a little warm down here in Louisiana. I did bring them into the refrigerator. They still may be in there for the softball, although can't get to them because they're going to go play in Baton Rouge. So someone may have a nice Built Bar in the fridge in the Lamson Park press box. I do need to get some. Not surprisingly, there was good food at the softball tournament. Are you looking for a delicious snack but don't want all of the sugar and calories? Then you need the best tasting protein bar ever built. If you're like me and you want to make healthier snack choices but don't want to compromise on taste, I've got just the thing for you. Built Bars and Built Puffs. Built Bars are healthy and taste amazing. Seriously, they taste so amazing you won't think they're good for you. You got to try this. What makes Built Bars so good? Well, for starters, they're all covered in 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. And they come in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and cookies and cream. I'm not sure how Built does it, but these bars taste like a candy bar while maintaining amazing macros. And what's even better is that they're healthy for you. Only 130 calories and 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. And now you don't need to wait to get a box. For years, we've been talking about ordering Built Bars at Built.com, but now you can get them over at your local Walmart or Sam's Club, while you can still get your specialty flavors at Built.com. That's right. Head to your nearest Walmart today, walk to the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate bar, or coconut puff. If you're close to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter puff and churro puff. You can thank me later. I'll go back into Sam's. I could not get to Sam's today to go grocery shopping. I did not get to Sam's. I will get to Sam's hopefully this week, especially if I am going back and forth to Baton Rouge for this weekend series, which I will. We'll see. We don't have the times yet as of Sunday evening at 10:05. We don't have the times yet, or I'll rephrase. I don't have the times yet. I looked about an hour ago and did not see any times for the games on Friday. We'll see who plays first. The softball game will be on 103.3 The GOAT. So we'll see. Maybe I'll just do a nice little post-game show following the game, the first one that they play. And they are playing, should mention, the Cajuns are playing Omaha. I didn't mention that. Omaha out of the Summit League. They won the championship. And LSU is taking on Prairieville A&M. So that is your Baton Rouge Regional. All right, as for baseball, I'm not sure where this came from. Outside of ULM. Outside of playing ULM and riding the ship, that was last weekend. And they needed it. They came up with it. What was that? Wasn't that? Okay, this all strings together, right? But the Ragin' Cajuns lost that brutal Sunday ball game against Coastal Carolina, right? That 10 a.m. game. Am I on the right schedule path? Right, they had a 2-1 lead, and Coastal ties it up in the 9th inning with 2 outs. And then Roccaforte just barely misses a home run to win it. And they just have not been the same since, to be honest with you. They've been winning. They lost that heartbreaker of a game and series. And let me make sure this was right. They've lost 5 out of 6, I believe. 1, 2, 3. They swept Marshall, so that's 4. App State is 5, and they won the South Alabama series. So they lost 4 out of 5 with Coastal. Then they have not only haven't they lost a series since, they haven't lost a game since. ULM's not very good. It is what it is. On my radio show, I was saying they need to sweep. There's no excuse not to sweep this team. If you actually want to make the conference tournament, you got to sweep. And we were thinking, to be honest with you, I was thinking 6-3. Sweep ULM, take 2 out of 3 from Texas State, and take 1 from Southern Miss. Well, they've already won their 6. They sweep ULM. They lost to Louisiana Tech midweek. I could care less. All right. For people, and I'm not in this boat yet, I don't think the Cajuns are looking at a at-large berth just yet. They're going to have to either win the series or sweep Southern Miss to get to that. They're still sitting at 66, and that's up 10 spots from like yesterday. That's on WarrenNolan.com. So I'm still not there yet. They got to to get an at-large berth, they would have to sweep Southern Miss, minimally take 2 out of 3, and then somehow beat Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina without necessarily winning the Sun Belt Conference tournament. I'm not exactly sure they can do that. But if they could somehow beat Southern Miss and beat Coastal, and not necessarily, obviously, if you win the tournament, it doesn't matter. You don't need the at-large. But if you sweep the final 3 series and beat Southern Miss and Coastal in the conference tournament, you may just find yourself in. All right. You may find yourself in. I would think you got to be, they're 66 right now. I mean, can they get to 45 by the conference tournament? I'm not sure. I still think they're on the outside looking in there. Doesn't matter because they're playing good baseball. All right. And you don't have to be Coastal Carolina or Southern Miss in a series per se. You just got to beat them once, most likely. All right. And so today, I mean, they have not struggled. The Ragin Cajuns baseball team, easy with Texas State on Friday, 7-3. Then on Saturday, 9-5, jumped ahead both games. This one was a little bit different. They fell behind 3-0, and Texas State really kind of blew this ball game. All right. This was all Texas State's fault. Texas State left 15 men on base. The Ragin Cajuns in the 5th inning scored 6 runs, and I think they were all with 2 outs. Yeah, 2 outs and 2 on. Oh, no. I'm sorry. Let me get back to the 5th. I was doing the 6th. Bottom of the 5th. Yeah, I'm sorry. 1 on, 2 out. And then the Cajuns scored 6 runs. They went from down 3-1 to up 7-3. And Texas State was spent. They were just spent. And so they're in good shape right now. And just because of the way the standings are, they're in 3rd place. I really believe the Cajuns only need to win 1 ball game against Southern Miss to finish in the top 6. That's really all I'm concerned about. It doesn't matter where you are, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't want to be 7 through 10, and they really can't be 1 through 2 or 1 or 2. They can be 3, 4, 5, or 6, and it only matters that you're there. Now, if they can somehow, I don't know about beating Tanner Hall. Certainly, if you beat Tanner Hall, you're playing really good baseball. But if somehow, you can get, a Saturday victory or a Sunday victory, or it's a Thursday, Friday. Those things are usually earlier in the week, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so everybody gets some time off before they play. Let's make sure that's the case. There's no school that they have to worry about. Yeah, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So if they can win Friday or Saturday, again, heck, if they can win Thursday, they're in great shape. But if they can just pull off 1 win, I know the baseball team's not going to look at that, or why can't we win the series, or why can't we sweep? Okay, let's do it on the road against a good team. You've swept ULM. They're a bad team. You got swept by James Madison. James Madison's been a yo-yo. They were 11th 2 weeks ago. They were 4th heading into Sunday's action, and now they're 6th. Crazy. crazy. South Alabama had won 10 in a row. They haven't won since, although that was, unfortunately for them, back-to-back series against Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina. Brutal. All right, let's take a quick timeout. We'll be back after these messages. We'll put a bow on it. Again, recapping the Ragin Cajuns weekend. It was a good one for the softball team and the baseball team. I do want to thank you so much for continuing to subscribe to Locked On Sunbelt. We'll continue to look at the Sunbelt. We got baseball. We'll see if Coastal is supposed to get a national seed, see if they can make a run to the College World Series. Maybe the Ragin Cajuns get an automatic berth into the NCAA tournament. We'll see that as well. As for, I forgot to mention, Texas State was the other Sunbelt team in the NCAA tournament for softball. So congratulations to Texas State. We're still looking to do some big things, and we will try to do it every day. We did a couple bonus episodes. Honestly, I forgot last night or on Saturday. I forgot. I got all excited. I was watching Air. So I did forget and didn't remember it until probably when I woke up. So we're doing we did a couple extra episodes this past weekend, and we'll continue to do it, your team every day. So I do appreciate it. Again, please subscribe, like, and share the video on YouTube. Also, don't forget about the audio. We have audio podcasting. That's mostly what it is. You can find it anywhere. Locked On Sunbelt, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon. Just search Locked On Sunbelt. All right, let's get back to it. Let's wrap things up. Great weekend for the Ragin Cajuns softball team. Another Sunbelt championship. This one coming a little bit different, more with pitching than with hitting. And with that, they are not hosting. They are headed to Baton Rouge. That is the 10th time they're going to Baton Rouge. My goodness. And the 4th time in the last 6 years. They have a legitimate shot. Be interesting. Can you bet on college softball? Is that a thing? I wouldn't be surprised if they were favored. The Cajuns, again, have probably better and at least more pitching than LSU. That's not always been the case. Usually it's been the hitting that can match up with LSU, but now they have the pitching. And most of it is going to be rested. We'll see what they do with Sam Landry. But Kendra Lamb can be in the bullpen. And you got Megan Shortman, who hasn't pitched a whole lot as of late. And then Carly Heath hasn't pitched at all. So we'll see. As for baseball, again, you have done the heavy lifting the last 2 weekends. You did what was necessary against ULM. You probably did more than was expected against Texas State by sweeping them. And now you're going to Southern Miss, all kinds of confidence and playing pretty well. Again, if you win the series, again, if you sweep them, all right, I'd be shocked if they're even, are they going to go from 66 to 45? Again, I'm not in the camp that thinks the Cajuns are in the at-large berth. Again, they would need to sweep Southern Miss, and they would need to somehow beat Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina without necessarily winning the Sun Belt Conference tournament. Not the easiest trick to do, all right? We'll see how that works out, I guess. In a double elimination tournament, I guess that's feasible. And, if that's the case, that means at the worst, they would be, what would that be? That'd be 8, or that'd be 9, 10, 11, 12 wins in a row or something along those lines. Or, it would have to be 12 out of 13 if you lose one in there. They'd be hot as all get out, that's for sure. But I'm still not buying that they're in the at-large berth category. Not yet. We'll see what happens against Southern Miss. All right. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. We will be with you all week. In fact, we do have Kevin Foote from the Acadiana Advocate hopping on. He will recap what we just did. He will talk Cajun softball and Cajuns baseball. Again, tomorrow we'll get Kevin Foote's reaction to what has happened this past weekend. All right. Again, thanks very much for tuning in to Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm Dave Schultz. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.